Welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and on a podcast due for release on World Mental Health Day, I'd like to take an earnest moment to thank my co-host, my ride or die, my BFF, the yin to my yang, and undoubtedly a man who has helped maintain my sanity through the years, the inimitable Luke Gledall. How are you doing today, Luke?
I'm very good. Thank you for such a sweet intro, Rich. How are you today?
I'm good, yeah. The results sort of helped. It's been a bit of a weird week on some levels, but yeah, it's nice that occasionally Sheffield Wednesday don't absolutely sort of ruin your weekend. It's a rare occurrence.
It's a rare thing, isn't it?
Two wins in 7 in the old League One, which is pretty miserable stuff, but foreshadowing, but one of the better ones. How are you?
I'm good. I think I shared that thing with you. Yeah. And maybe this is the best that we can hope for. I'm releasing this episode on Mental Health Day.
Yeah. It's one of the nice things to hear about the podcast is people do say it helps them, so that's a nice thing, and I think definitely there's a bit of a group therapy feel for the hosts as well. Definitely. Do we want to just get ourselves into news, Luke?
Yeah, let's do it.
Breaking hoo-hoos.
There's only really the one item, but it was we got yet another slice of the action this week, Luke. Were you down to clown with that slice of the action?
I was. Again, I'm always it's always nice to have a little bit of a break for this kind of weird pre-season preamble, kind of bizarre little Mickey Mouse Cup.
Yeah. I have to confess that this newfangled, I'm going to be an old man till I die about this, but playing night matches at 7 o'clock rather than 7:45, I refuse to get on board with. I refuse to adjust to. And even though this wasn't a conscious decision, I completely missed the first half because I just assumed it would be 7:45 because that's when midweek football matches happen in my mind. So you'll have to take me through that first half of the match if you can. But I suppose before we get there, what did you think? This lineup, this team that was representing the Wednesday. We got to see Louis Gibbo for the first time.
Yeah, Lewis Gibson, who I think is actually the inspiration, which is miraculous considering his age, for Elbow's Seldom Seen Kid.
Hey!
I think he's been working on a cocktail called Grounds for David Bates, Rich.
Oh, excellent.
I've only been having that gag rattle around my brain for the past 3 days with that song as well.
And in terms of his first 45 minutes, he was limited to a first 45-minute performance here. Was it Build a Rocket Boys or was it a corpse in the bathtub?
The corpse in your bathtub, useless, I believe.
Yeah.
That's what it is. No, well, maybe somewhere in between the two. I thought he was okay. I could see how... It was interesting because I thought this is a game which it's a player with probably a lot better caliber and a lot better kind of background and kind of supposedly, as we're led to believe with his signing, kind of, on the promise of maybe developing a fairly decent kind of football league career for himself, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know how much further he will go, but the interesting thing is that we haven't really seen him, right? So it was interesting actually today. It was really surreal in the commentary for the game today. I just want to kind of make a note because for some reason John Pearson wasn't there on the commentary.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was just Rob O'Neill. Halftime was kind of surreal for me because anyone who had the televised feed would have known that basically, halftime comes. I think what happens if I follow, if you just have the radio feed, Rob O'Neill and John Pearson just keep talking and keep kind of covering
Yeah.
this thing. But essentially, what we kind of had though was like, I went off to the adverts. It came back and someone else was talking with Rob O'Neill,
Oh,
and it took me a long time to be like, it's quite funny because just as a complete random aside here, but I remember a
yeah.
comment made by Mark Maron on WTF podcast, and he was talking about like radio hosts about talking about podcasters and saying, well, podcasters don't do like the check-in, like they don't go, and if you're
Yeah.
joining us now, we're chatting to, and so I was waiting for something like that because
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think Rob had a good idea of it. So it was only at the end of it I found out it was Joe Cran.
Oh, right. Okay.
It was interesting because he does the journalists do a lot to get out some degree of content. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
maybe some of my criticism from them is sometimes it's, guys, it's a bit too much content, but sometimes it's like I I doff my cap that you are really toiling to just put out so much
Yeah.
content. But Joe Cran's an interesting guy because he's very much a very much a Wednesdayite, from his youth, and this is his dream gig. So it
Yeah.
was interesting to hear him talk about some stuff. But he mentioned about Gibson talking about how he kind of came with a knock, and this was hilariously at halftime. And
Okay.
then let's do a little bit of foreshadowing and kind of jump ahead here because the same thing happened again. He was taken off at
Yeah.
halftime again. And
Yeah,
it was
yeah, yeah.
hilarious because I was just about to send a message to my eldest brother Andy, who was at the game for a rare occasion today. And, I was just about to say, what did you think of Gibson today? And then kind of came back out and realized that he was hoiked off at halftime. But the same thing happened in the first half. And I was a little bit confused because, like I think I said, I'm really going in some real kind of Harry Maguire turning circles here, Rich. But
Yeah.
would kind of aspire that this should be a game that should be quite comfortable for him. It's interesting to look at. We talked about this as well. We're playing against Mansfield, who they aren't even giving a first team picture for a game like this.
No, no, there was because I got the when I eventually tuned in, I got the Mansfield commentary, and lots of talk about youngsters staking their claim, and I think I sort of went through that starting lineup, and I think 7 of them were 20 or 21 or younger. The George Cooper, the centre back, I think was 18.
Wow. Of which, I mean, this is the interesting thing. We don't really have a great basis of a lot of clubs within this league. That's incredibly outlandish mentality, and we don't really have much of an idea. I think we're getting an idea of what the standard now is of League One, which is a lot better than we would think it was, but we don't really know what the standard of League Two is. So I thought this was pretty much a first team picture for Mansfield. We're kind of putting out a mishmash, a few kids kind of amongst the picture. We've got FDB. I thought he did. So anyway, Gibson, I thought he did all right. I thought he did okay.
Yeah.
I thought he looked a little bit kind of promising, but then is the difficulty that it's a League Two team. The fact that it's a League Two team, which looks like smatterings of their kind of academy or reserves, is something else completely, I guess. But I thought he was good, so I was really surprised when he was taken off at halftime. And I will say, we defended a fair bit better in the first half when Gibson was on the pitch.
Right, yeah, because the second half, the bit that I saw was a lot of Mansfield, particularly that early period of the half. It was, but so interestingly, although Gibson's gone off now twice at half time, midweek was planned.
Yep.
To hear Darren Moore explain it afterwards, all of the substitutions were planned in advance. It was players getting minutes. So as you say, very much like a kind of pre-season match. He was just talking about the match almost as a training exercise and getting what we needed out of it. A win was almost secondary. But today's halftime subs were injuries, apparently. All of the subs today were injuries.
Right.
Which is a different picture, isn't it? If he's comeback. I was surprised to see him go from playing just 45 minutes midweek straight into the starting lineup the next game for the first team. That was particularly at defence.
How much do we? I guess there's two things. So it's like, this reminds me of some of the conversation we had, I think, previously. We never started the podcast when Jos Lukai was managing Sheffield Wednesday. But we did mention how he seemed to have a mentality around halftime substitutions that seemed to be kind of culturally against what we have in this country. Yes. It's a big deal to hoik someone off at halftime with that. It's very much like, I don't know, the background of musical theatre and the giant cane coming up to pull someone's neck off at halftime. Yes. That's kind of the mentality of the halftime substitution in English football. But it seemed to be something different. So I didn't know whether like Darren Moore is thinking he has a different culture about that today. So it's interesting. It's disappointing that they're both injured.
Yeah. I just double check, sorry. 2 of the players that started the game against us started their draw this weekend for Mansfield. So yeah, it looks very much like a second string team for them. Although a considerably younger second string than we had out. It was in many ways. Yeah.
And I thought we looked okay. I thought they looked fine. It was kind of like the first half was kind of end to end without really much of the chances.
Okay.
That's what I seem to kind of recall. I enjoyed seeing, I thought FDB was okay again. Who else was kind of starting? Who's someone who we haven't seen in the first team picture from that game? Do you have the lineup there in front of you, Rich?
Yeah, so Corbineau only seems to get games now in this competition. He seems to have lost his sub spot to other players. Sal played. Canberry played off Berahino up top. Sort of played. Patterson's been playing recently for us. As you say, Deli Bashiru played first game for Gibson, but Wings played. That's Wings' 3rd game in a week, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
Jack Hunt came back in, who's been out of the picture, and then Johnson at left back, and then the subs were familiar faces back in the places where they've played.
And I thought Johnson looked okay. You know, obviously we can kind of fast forward to the second half. You know, he had that was a decent cross for the wing goal. Wing was okay.
That was a great. I really liked the impetus from Wing. I mean, we don't make those sort of runs. You know, spoiler alert, I will spend a bit of time talking about Kieran Lee later on because it was just a joy to watch him operate. But that sort of kind of ghosting run is not something really we've had in our locker since Kieran Lee left. So it was really nice to see him just kind of, I don't know whether he shouted to say he was about to make that run, but just kind of ghosting in. And we ended up in this bizarre position of Marvin Johnson playing right back towards the end of that game. And but the benefit of that obviously is it's a kind of in-swinging delivery he's producing from that right-hand side. So Wing capitalised on that. The keeper hesitated and lovely simple header to nod home and
lumpy header over the keeper.
Then Stephen Quinn channeled Steve Evans and got really, really excited, but also ran about as quick as someone who'd pooed their pants, trying to get to the Wednesday fans to celebrate his goal.
A small ginger man in his mid-30s.
Yes,
yeah.
Acting like he was scoring in the World Cup final.
A small man acting like he had small man syndrome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with the comorbidity of being an awful pig as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked. Sometimes we do talk during matches. So I flagged up to you that I hadn't seen that first half. I said that Wing was looking tired, and then Wing scored. And then towards the end of the game, I commented how poor Canberry is, and he's the man that popped up with the winner.
Yeah, and I think that kind of speaks to the ability that Canberry has within that. Not that I think he's some great kind of 6-yard box man. Just I don't think I particularly think he's particularly great anywhere else outside of the pitch, to be fair, or has any great kind of skill set there. But it seems to be that his goals seem to be kind of, if it's within that kind of mixer, he can just put his foot through it and just roof it into the net, and that's pretty much what he did, right?
Yeah. I've seen somebody, I think maybe it was on Owl's Talk. I can't remember if it was Owl's Talk or Twitter, but they did sort of sum up my feelings on him, that he's just, I can't tell whether he's secretly good or absolutely abysmal, because within seconds he will do something brilliant, like the goal was really well taken, and the sort of the power he got on that made a big difference and made it unsavable. But then he just does simple things so badly so often that, sometimes he really looks like a competition winner. He's a he's a fascinating study of a football player.
You want him to win that contest, but not look like a contest winner. That's the thing, Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you a little bit disappointed that we were denied the drama of penalties?
I guess so, because it was a pretty ho-hum game of football. It wasn't terrible. I must say the defending for Quinn's goal is pretty poor.
Pretty poor, yeah.
It's pretty bad. Yeah, I don't know. It's maybe the thing that links. It's another kind of unconvincing win. Really, it's not the most convincing, but it's 2 wins from 2 in a tournament where, I don't know. I don't know how much benefit it kind of gives us. I'd like to think it's still that kind of mentality of like, we're winning games of football. This is a positive thing.
Yeah.
This is something that just it's more power to our elbow.
I think that it seems like the management of the club have a healthy attitude and maybe a slightly disdainful attitude of this competition. I think they're treating it sort of about the level of respect it deserves, which seems to be, as you say, it's a more pressurized situation than a training match, but only just. It's like one of these, when Arsenal go and play the Emirates Cup, where they like play Young Boys and Shakhtar Donetsk and something in Abu Dhabi, and they come out with the lauded. We all wanted that Emirates Cup, and you guys got it. But I think treating it in that way, where it's like, okay, this is a chance to give players minutes when they've not had minutes. We immediately went out of the Carling Cup, so that's one of those opportunities gone. We've got a big squad. Keeping people fresh is important, and for people like Lewis Gibson, it means you're not throwing him in directly in the deep end. You're letting him do a little bit of paddling with his lifesavers on just before we throw him in the deep end.
I mean, if it's winter at Blackpool Beach, you've got to take the donkeys out for a stroll down the beach, haven't you, Rich?
And Dunkley did play, so that's good to. Made good use of our time.
So I want to ask you as well. So kind of, because I think there's a mentality, and there's very much the kind of cookie cutter template heroes within football, the characters and the roles.
Yeah.
Especially that, like, I think, it's interesting. You've mentioned Kieran Lee. Let me just say one thing. I mean, so I guess that's so rare, because it's rare we've seen a play with anywhere near Kieran Lee's ability for those kind of ghosting runs.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't had nobody like that since. A more kind of very common mentality, which isn't anything that's particularly great or to write home, is the lanky cart horse target man.
Yes.
And we have another plucked from the nether regions of Europe, unknown to us, lanky, tall, cart-horsed striker in Florian Kamberi. But like, to bring that in, since that Adeniuyu has been someone who has been such a huge cult figure for Sheffield Wednesday fans, like, what is the comparison with him and Adeniuyu? Adeniuyu, who Rich is just pointing out on his Pete McKee Sheffield Wednesday shirt as well. Like, what is, in your opinion, what is the difference between those two players?
Ooh, I don't know, because I mean, similarly, he would. I mean, Adeniuyu, how many years did he spend at Wednesday? 7 years? 8 years?
7, 8 years. It's something crazy. Yeah, he was a very long-serving part of the squad.
Absolutely. But I honestly couldn't tell you whether he was left or right-footed. Because I think he must have been right-footed because that's what he took his penalties with, right? But oftentimes he would hit the ball so badly with that right foot that you'd think he must be left-footed, really. And then sometimes he would hit the ball surprisingly well with that left foot, so you think, yeah, no, this was fed into the ideally. I think it's interesting because neither of them are classic big men. Atty had the size that sort of made him unplayable in certain situations, which obviously Kamberi can't lean on that. He's 6'2" and he's fairly slightly built. He's not kind of he's not a big monster. He doesn't so that doesn't help him. But I think similarly, he wants the ball probably with his back to goal and to feed things out from his feet, really, rather than have it pinged at his chest or his head, which is similar to Adeniuyu, really. His best moments really were taking the ball with the ball at his feet. The classic good feet for a big man thing was very much in play for Atty. I wish we had somebody with his sort of dogged level of hard work, because even though he was the opposite of an athlete, I always felt like Atty put a shift in for the team, and I don't know if I'm getting that too often with Kamberi thus far.
And how do we feel about that in terms of players? In that we seem to have Gregory, who seems to offer a lot more.
Yeah,
a lot more for a tall striker.
He's first and foremost, he is a better build, I think, Gregory.
He is very much so. Yeah,
he's a unit in the classical sense of the word.
I believe he got a BA in shithousery.
He failed the brick unit, but he was right on the cusp. Gregory's an interesting figure. Like today was almost case in point for what a sort of fascinating footballer we have on our hands, really, in Gregory.
Very much so. Do you think that's enough to kind of chop off the segments of our breaking hoo-hoos?
I think so. I think that probably we can get on to,
and we can get on and talk about the main meal.
The
entree. Is it an entree? Is an entree the main meal? It's always the worst thing, but I think it's just
entree in the world is the starter.
Right.
In North America, it's the main because
it's fucking dumb here. Yeah.
Oh, we speak French. Yes. We are having our entrees. That was the starter, you stupid woman.
Rich and I are looking forward to
I created a monster and I immediately feared the monster. I stared into the eyes of the monster in that lady and did not like her. Right. Luke loves lineups. What did you think of this wacky lineup?
Lineup is bananas. The first 4 words of my Evernote about Bolton.
N-A-N-A-N.
This lineup is bananas. So I like seeing Gibson getting a go. And I like seeing Dunkley getting benched. Still unsure of Hutchins centre mid. Disappointed Adeniran is benched.
Yeah.
And here's where I made my first wrong footing. I said, damning to give Palmer the left back berth. And then in brackets afterwards, I'm wrong about that because it looked like a 3-5-2.
Yeah, that's how it started.
With Jaden Brown, texture like sun, as left wing back. Because I was looking at it and being like, is this a 4-4-2?
Yeah, I was. Several possibilities were.
When was the last time we saw the 4-4-2 at Hillsborough? That was played by Sheffield Wednesday.
Well, we sort of did it at one point today. Vaguely.
We didn't start with it, did we?
No, we didn't.
It wasn't the starting intention. I don't know.
It was not the starting intention. But obviously,
I feel like Inspector Gadget's having a serious malfunction of lots of his working parts when I'm watching Sheffield Wednesday's lineup, you know.
But we did at the start of the second half. Jack Hunt was right back.
Mm-hmm.
Dominic Iorfa and Dunkley were the centre backs, and Palmer was playing left back. So,
interesting.
I suppose maybe it wasn't 4-4-2 up top because it was a bit. It's a bit wonky.
It's a bit wonky. But then I thought like the interesting thing because I thought like Flash Score were telling me it was a 4-2-3-1, which it was not at all. But I mean that's an interesting. That'd be an interesting formation with the characters. Whatever happened, like Palmer was not left back. Palmer was in my world, you know, the right man of the free at the back.
Yeah, I wonder if that was particularly to cope with Doyle because I think Doyle's got himself some goals, hasn't he, so far this season?
I don't know. If that's the case, I'm severely depressed by the mentality that we're trying wacky shit to try and negate a team like Bolton at home. Bolton, a team who I'll have a comment to say about Bolton later that I think is I feel quite proud of myself, but I'll just tease that one now.
They're the top scorers in the division, right?
The top goal scorers in the division before today. Really?
I'm pretty sure that's the case. Or they're right up there.
Wow.
They've scored double the amount of goals we had.
Well, that's not hard, is it? Right, before today, and then that's we've scored 20, we've got 11.
Yeah.
You know, we have like the second meanest defense in this league.
I know, you wouldn't think it, but yeah, somehow.
I know. But then we've got like something like the 7th worst score in this league. Goals for.
That's how it all works out.
That's how it pans out, folks. That's how it works. So yeah, the lineup was kind of strange. I was looking at it again and being like, I don't know. Oh.
Maybe it's not Doyle. Maybe so. I'm just looking that. So I didn't really pick this up. Apologies for the cough there. But they've got this on my page here on SofaScore. That Sarcevic was sort of playing up alongside or just off Doyle. So I don't know. Maybe it just felt like we were trying to do. It felt like we were trying to give Iorfa the time and space to be the last man and snuff things out. Basically, that's what it felt like.
Right. You know who the top goal scorer is, Rich? I'll give you a hint. It's not a full lion. It's half a lion.
Hey.
He's got 6 goals. Half a lion?
Yeah, half a lion with 6 goals.
6 goals. That's pretty decent.
Very decent.
Decent return.
Especially when he's as toilet as he appeared today. He did a lot of running across the front of the box aimlessly and then getting tackled. A lot of moaning.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of diving. He got a yellow card for diving. But not a whole heap of anything else. A really bad decision to shoot with his left foot. I guess that comes from the hubris of being a 6-goal man at this point in time.
I thought you were going to say that's the territory of being toilet.
Yeah. So Yeah, an interesting lineups, and obviously from a Wednesday perspective, looking at their team, we had the curse of the X possibilities of Elias Kachunga lining up on that right wing berth, and Kieran Lee with his free role in the midfield.
I don't know how it still would have felt with a theoretical universe, like the worst episode of the Marvel Disney Plus show What If, which would be like, what if Wednesday re-signed Elias Kachunga?
Yeah. I mean, he was just as unconvincing as he's ever been. He had a good start though, didn't he? It looks like it's not continued, but didn't he pick up an assist or two and maybe get a goal?
Sure.
Early doors.
I'm sure you're not wrong, Rich.
Well, people were kind of going, we've just let him go and look what he's doing, because they like to do that.
Yeah, that's a thing that people do.
It was like, we did watch him for 9 months and he wasn't for us. He never did anything for us, so it doesn't really matter what he's doing now. So we kind of had this odd midfield trio of Bannon, Hutch, and Patterson doing a bit of attacking and a bit of defending, a bit of midfield work. Wing backs in Jaden Brown and Jack Hunt, and Berahino and Gregory sort of up top together, but also sort of playing wings whilst Patterson went charged through the middle.
I mean, I don't know. I'm glad. I don't know. I previously said a thing a thing that Wednesday don't do very much and very well is moving around and creating space. So I like the idea of having some fluidity, but there doesn't seem to be any understanding of cohesion in that. No one seems to understand what anyone else is doing, let alone what they are doing themselves. I don't think.
No.
I never really get any kind of greats. There's some moments where I don't get those moments of genius where, like, I'm glad you broke your position to inspire what is coming now.
Well, we did have one moment of inspiration today. I don't know if you picked up on this or whether you enjoyed it, but the twice today it worked. It nearly worked the first time. What did you think of the odd burst forward from Dominic Iorfa? Like at a goal kick, he ended up on the right wing, and kind of like an awkward gazelle.
Yeah.
Worked the ball towards Gregory, who took it around the goalie, but then couldn't really do anything with it. Nearly worked. It nearly worked that first time, doing something a bit mad, bit off the cuff.
Oh, I thought you were talking about something else. So shall I? I'll just kind of scan through some of the.
I'm being
moments.
very scattergun. Sorry.
I know that's fine. From the off, I mean, we dispossessed them and broke. Berahino fizzes it wide in the first 30 seconds. That was something, and then we nearly dropped a bollock.
Yeah, Lewis Gibson has the worst possible start to his Hillsborough debut.
And then it seemed to be kind of a mild stream of Bolton pressure, really.
Well, that
was the moment on the 13th. I said long ball chip forward. That was Gregory heading over the keeper, but he couldn't keep it in.
Yeah. So that was prompted by a bit of chaos caused by Dominic Iorfa pushing up on that right-hand side. And Wildsmith, weirdly, not passing the ball to him because he can't kick it over that way. He kicked it sort of where he's been kicking it all the rest of the game. But Iorfa got involved, forced his way in.
I think a couple of moments I think that kind of sum up Sheffield Wednesday in this half football. So one that I want to kind of speak about, I'll speak about first, and the second one I'll come back to talking about Dominic Iorfa again. 25th minute, promising break with a 1-2 with Hunt, ends up with Wednesday cycling it back to Wildsmith. Yeah,
there's a few frustrating moments like that.
Yeah. The other moment afterwards, the one I thought you were going to talk about with Dominic Iorfa, was the 27th minute mark. Iorfa has the best moment again for Wednesday by surging out from the back, but loses the ball and clumbers into Williams and gets a yellow.
Yes. That was fun.
That was fun. It looked like it was going to be amazing for a minute. It's just absolutely. It's just one of those great moments where Dominic Iorfa just unrolls his legs and does that whole kind of the 4x4 off-roading. His monster truck tires in the middle of the park that we said we enjoyed previously. But
Power wheels.
Exactly.
Power wheels.
And I mean, I don't know. It's such a weird, again, that whole cycling it back. Rob O'Neill made the commentary, which I kind of really agree with, just saying that Wednesday were very poor in possession, and it wasn't really working very much playing out the back. I thought we looked a lot more effective when, just gearing it forward to Gregory. To be honest with you,
I wonder how much there is chicken and egg, because is it the fact that we are being careful and sensible in possession most of the time that makes the change up long ball more effective? Because if you're generally as an opposing team, you're set up for one or the other. You're not.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
And definitely there's a period, it was more effective second half, but there was a period where they got, I think for the goal slightly, they got caught sort of in one shape when we played the long ball, when they were kind of set up for us to do another short. The free kicks, so often our free kicks result in pressure for ourselves because we insist on playing it to the centre backs who by and large aren't that comfortable. But they were kind of set up for us to do another maintain possession type free kick, and then when we did hit it long, they were completely all out of shape for it, which led to the situation.
That's good. I'm glad that there's more of a tactical nous behind that, which is making it possible. So I really appreciate that. That could be, but I'll be honest, that's probably the best stuff I think we've seen from Wednesday for the last few games, really.
Well, I think it really helps having Patterson in that whole sort of position, because he's a nuisance for defenders, because I think they can't decide if they go with him, then they're leaving one of our other threats unmarked. But if they leave him to win the header, he actually quite often does win the header. He's pretty effective at that. So if you stay with your man, you can also end up in a difficult situation. I think it took us a while to find that rhythm, but I thought once we did, today was probably one of the more effective performances we've had. But I do know what you mean. That first half, there was a couple of moments where we very frustratingly sort of turned back and almost ended up as well. I think, in fact, we literally ended up back with Wildsmith from an attacking position at one point, which is, I know that, I mean, it does annoy me as much as anybody else.
As much as it annoyed the crowd, very clearly. It was very obvious to see how much that frustrates Hillsborough.
I have to say, I don't think Hillsborough is. I don't want to blame fans, but I don't think Hillsborough is helping this team at this point in time.
No, but then it
collectively got on board with the fact that this is a more difficult mission than we all hoped it would be. We are not going to be wiping teams off the face of the earth in this division. It's going to be hard work. But there's still that huge expectation from a crowd, which is not helpful. It's not a helpful energy.
But then the mentality of like the chicken and egg, you kind of really want the team to get that picture.
I was sort of saying we've always been for as long as I can remember, really, by and large, we're a crowd that needs the team to G us up to get us going.
Yep, completely.
But I do think with the possession at the back, I think part of it is we're not convincing enough to even, I don't think we believe in them doing it. Maybe they now believe in it as players because it's what they're being told every day. But watching it, certainly Dunkley. I mean, it just does not look natural, him being asked to do what he's doing on the ball. That weird, like, lolloping long ball he played in the second half, where he's like, he looks at the ball and he looks at the man again, and then he hits it 6 feet away from them. He just doesn't. It's very uncomfortable. And Gibson grew into the game, thankfully. I think that first thing that's a nightmare start, and it could have easily been a goal. We were very, very lucky not to.
We were
from that.
But interesting to look back from a kind of retrospective now, having seen the entire game, and say one of the only moments of any great threat from Bolton.
I think you're right, actually. It's amazing. You should, if anybody wants to read Delusion, Ian Everett's post-match comments are pretty tasty. If you like your Delusion hot and crispy, Ian Everett is serving up something that you will find a very tasty treat. But yeah, I think there was a lot of bluster. I think they had some half chances, but really, Wildsmith didn't have to do a huge amount. There was second half he had to make that save from Doyle. But other than that, really, there wasn't. They didn't get much going really of note. And comparatively, we had some fairly decent chances ourselves. I mean, that Berahino one early doors. Okay, everybody's a bit. You've got to warm up to the game, and he didn't really get a hold of it. Yeah. Brown had some really great opportunities, but just did weird things with them. Did that weird shot with his right foot in the first half, where it was so bad he had to pretend he was injured to save himself from the embarrassment. Yeah. We had the nearly moment with Gregory and the ball going out of play that he couldn't keep in. Berahino muscled Santos off of it and hit the side netting with a decent effort. Yeah. And then Gregory had one saved onto the bar as well. I think in terms of like goal scoring, real goal scoring opportunities, I think we did probably edge that in both halves.
There's only one moment, I kind of felt there's a couple of moments that felt kind of a little bit scary. One I'll get to just to kind of mop up my notes in the first half there. The half-hour mark, Bolton break, played into, I don't know, Bolton striker was back to the goal. I don't know whether that was Doyle. Probably. And then he kind of worked to kind of turn it around, and that was Palmer who's actually there did well.
Yes, that was really good defending from Palmer.
It was really good defending from Palmer.
Pretty poor defending from everybody else to let Doyle roll them, but thankfully Palmer did a great job.
Question for you, Rich, on the 34th minute mark. Gregory fouled on the edge of the box?
I'm struggling to remember that incident in particular.
I thought he was kind of pulled over.
Okay,
by whoever the Bolton defender was. Like they said in the commentary, Robert Neal said, I don't think that's a penalty, but I thought it was more of a free kick on the edge of the box. Anyway, I wanted to bring that up because when I was watching, I was like, I thought that was okay. That was the great header from Gregory you mentioned on the 36th minute. Bannon did a really lovely cross, kind of curled, whipped in. We seem to get a lot of joy from kind of attacking, when we seem to be attacking the away end. And we seem to kind of whip some balls. Like Bannon did that. I remember like Johnson did a really good cross as well. Coming in and then picking out the man kind of just on the edge of the box. That seems to be some kind of real decent effect for us. And I thought it was just kind of tipped behind for a corner, but you said it was tipped onto the bar, you think?
I think it was tipped onto the bar, but, it's a slight difference one way or the other, but it's a very good header. Everything he does seems to go through the middle of the goal, which I don't know whether it's like a hedge your bets type thing. But it's been at the heart of some frustrating moments for him thus far.
Yeah.
But he really that was a great header because it's a nice ball from Bannon, but he's quite a long way out from the goal. And he got a lot of whip onto his header. He got a lot of pace onto it.
He really did,
a long way out. He was sort of closer to the edge of the box than he was the goal. Much closer.
And I think the only thing outside of that, you've mentioned Berahino whipping into the side netting. Again, we seem to do well on that kind of left flank, and there seems to be like a lot of kind of long balls, which we remember like the goal against Wigan seemed to be like that kind of long, kind of down by the byline. Gregory did, in the goal against Wigan for Patterson, did amazing work to kind of hold it up and stroke it across. This time it was Berahino, who was actually just seems to be like, it's interesting because I don't think we are. I think in some ways we're a little bit unwise to some of the things that happen in this division.
Yeah.
But we seem to sometimes have like some real steel, some real metal to us.
Yeah.
And I think that's something to be appreciated amidst some stuff that's been quite disappointing, I must say. But have Berahino hold off, I think he could have done a little bit better. It was a bit rushed.
He obviously sold the keeper because the keeper was diving to the middle of his goal. So he sort of given him the eyes, I think. But it was the finish itself that let him down, unfortunately. But no, I wonder if that's one of those areas where, because we've talked about how our players seem to go, there's these classic sort of fouls you get where you just kind of wait for a contact and fall over, and it's not really a foul, but it is a foul, and it gets given in the Premier League and the Championship. It's just like that thing where people moan about it. It's becoming a no contact sport, that sort of moan. But I think in League One, you don't get those sort of fouls. But I suppose the flip side of that as an attacker, where you get to use that against the opposition, is those moments where they're trying to jockey the ball out of play, because normally you touch them, they fall over and they get a foul. But in League One, you're not getting those fouls. So we're actually using that to our advantage. And when the ball is rolling that slowly, let's muscle them and let's make some moments out of them.
Mm-hmm. What did you think? How did that free kick at the death of the first half look for you? From my angle, it looked like it was in from Bolton.
Yeah.
That was,
it looked, and Wildsmith would not have. Wildsmith dived too late. Like, he figured out what was happening too late. Like, if it had been on target, Wildsmith starts diving as it crosses the line. So that was a decent. It was very close, and had a good whip on it, definitely.
mm-hmm.
But thankfully missed. I don't know whether I thought it was a foul, though, to be honest.
No, I thought it was a foul, I think, from what I kind of recall.
Enough.
But no, I was more kind of concerned. I mean, that was probably the 3 moments we had some mini kittens from Bolton. Yeah. Did he have any shots on target? They must have had. I mean, like, Wildsmith made a couple of
Doyle one in the second half.
Right.
Which is a pretty poor effort, really. It was a pretty easy save for. I know we had to clear it afterwards, but it wasn't exactly testing. Wildsmith was sort of lying on the floor and he kicked it. Yeah,
Flashco was telling me they had 1 shot on goal after 12 goal attempts from Bolton.
Yeah.
While we had 8 goal attempts, 2 on target.
I think they might be calling some of their crosses goal attempts.
Maybe that's the case. Yeah.
Because that was like Declan John had one in the second half after we scored. And I think that was definitely, to be fair to Declan John, I definitely think that was a cross. But I feel like that might be getting counted as a shot.
I don't know. I can't trust him because he's got 2 first names.
Declan John and Gethin Jones. I mean, that's 2 pretty Welsh-sounding fullbacks right there.
What were your thoughts about this game going into the half-time? I mean, it was not a particularly glamorous game of football.
No. I did wonder. I actually, in retrospect, think we did better than at the time. I was thinking, those Bolton chances were sticking in my mind, and I suppose the last thing happening being that free kick is maybe part of that, because your last impression of the half is this nearly moment, whereas maybe our moments were earlier on. although it doesn't look that way in terms of, there's a graph for attack momentum, Luke, which I think is the version SofaScore's version of maybe XG, and apparently it was all Wednesday until that free kick for them. So maybe my impression was wrong, but I was sort of thinking maybe we would make a change at halftime. I wasn't sure where or what, but I was thinking we might, because it was a weird lineup, and when you do a weird starting lineup, you tend to have to fix it later, which proves your genius even more, really, because you did it twice. But we did have to. What did you think at halftime? What was your sort of impression of things?
I wondered about like the nature of being like, it was the first half where I'm not particularly impressed with what Sheffield Wednesday are doing. But again, I'm wondering, and as they're thinking, well, to be kind of positive, I think I'm probably within a certain kind of headspace right now that I'm not the most optimistic for what Sheffield Wednesday are going to do in the game of football. So there's no great kind of expectation, really. So I mean, outside of that, the thing I was thinking was it will get better in the second half.
Yeah.
Like I think it's kind of very much a given, even if it's sometimes just a little bit less patchy. Or sometimes I think the play and the substitutions get strange from Sheffield Wednesday in the second half because it's Darren Moore and that's what he seems to do.
Yeah.
But then we seem to sometimes the game opens up. So there's still some kind of odd opportunity for Wednesday to do something, which seemed huge considering Gregory chance aside, there wasn't really a great deal. I do want to say, like, some mildly better Bannon corners. Did you think? They were kind of like just kind of looped into the mix there, and then they were kind of punched out by the goalkeeper, but that seems a bit more positive than some of the stuff we usually see from him.
I remember one of them going straight to the front, the man at the front post. I can't remember any others. Apologies, but maybe they were better. I don't know, but it just hasn't stuck in my mind.
Well, I'm kind of struggling for some positives, some praise. I'm going to be honest, because it was a pretty middling game of football.
Yeah, one thing that's I've gone just for a bit of fun. I've got some Ian Evatt quotes for us, but it has reminded me. Dominic Iorfa was maybe a touch lucky to stay on the pitch today.
They made a comment about that. Rob O'Neill said how he'd already picked up a yellow at one point.
Well, he picked up a yellow and then he went through Kieran Lee on the edge of the box. Maybe that's where they got their free kick. I'm maybe piecing together memories from different moments, but I thought Kieran Lee had really done us a favour by jumping up and not making a fuss, because I think if he'd rolled around, and this referee, by the way, a real sassy chap, really loved his work. There wasn't a moment missed to strut his stuff in front of that Hillsborough crowd. He was really enjoying his time. He particularly had a very nice shoulder roll for the ball moving at the free kicks. He pulled the ball back 2 or 3 times for that. And a bit of I think at one point he gave a goal kick, and it was a whole body movement to give the goal kick. The bum was shaking, the left arm went up. It was almost like night fever. Goal kick to Sheffield Wednesday. Goal kick to Sheffield Wednesday. He was a real, he'd missed his calling on.
Oh dear.
Quickly Come Dancing. Anyway, sorry, that was by the ball.
You said change at halftime. I mean, I'm oddly glad that they were injuries. Not that I'm glad that anyone's injured. Just from one small perspective of like, if we're making a double defensive substitution, at halftime, then fuck me. Then it's all is lost, I'm afraid.
It's just that thing of, I suppose you almost get into the rhythm of, because Monk had, if you remember, Monk had a period of, Dada-esque starting lineups where you were just like, choose your own adventure, and then he had to fix it, and sometimes it would be like a sub after half an hour, sometimes, and it was almost like he was creating disasters so that he could. We talk about like save the cat moments in film, and it's like you don't get the applause for saving the cat if you've hung it from the tree in the first place. Like that's almost how this rhythm goes with managers. Like just to create a disaster, then solve it halfway through the game. But yeah, so we made the 2 subs at half time, as we now found out, based on injuries supposedly, which is it's 2 things, isn't it? Because it looks like Hutchinson, have we rushed him back? There were some rumours that Hutchinson had refused to play last week, but the fact he's sort of limped off at half time again in the next game afterwards does sort of make, and he limped off against Wigan, does sort of make you think probably it's more to do with the fact he's injured. I do think we have to question whether his legs can cope with playing in midfield. I just think it's not good. It's not good for his body at this stage. And if we want him to be an influence, if we want him to be a presence on the pitch, he can only play at centre back. It doesn't work being a midfielder. And then also Gibson. So Louis Gibbo off at half time for the second game running, but this time unplanned and going to need a scan during the week. So they were replaced by Che Dunkley and Adeniran Den, respectively. So another bit of a shake-up. We went to this kind of 4 at the back, sort of for a period of time. A much more normal-looking back 4, which I was quite pleased about. And Adeniran does add a huge amount of energy and positivity to our midfield. He always wants the ball. He always wants to push on and make things happen. He had a couple of nearly moments where he really burst through their midfield, but it wasn't presented with very many options and ended up kind of losing the ball a bit tamely, unfortunately, after that. That Doyle chance was pretty early on, wasn't it, in the second half, where it sort of bobbled through to him.
That was the 47th minute, right? I think.
Yeah.
That was the one I said, how did that stay out? Big clearance. Yeah. I thought that was a huge clearance from the rebound. I mean,
yeah,
I'm grateful Wildsmith saved it as opposed to palm it into his own net or just get out the way of the path of the ball.
Yeah.
But I thought the big thing was whoever saved it. I don't know if that was Iorfa or Palmer, really at centre back, who managed to kind of mop that up with a clearance.
I think it might have been Hunt, actually.
Okay, well, that's good. Kudos to Jack Hunt. Speaking of mopping up, Iorfa managed to mop up for a fuck up from Bannon on the 54th minute.
Yes, yeah, not good from Bannon.
That was piss poor. We don't seem to have any great conviction about keeping the ball in a great deal.
Well, Bannon almost gets off on nearly moments, doesn't he? Like he likes riding that line, but sometimes you're going to get caught out doing that. And this time he did his usual sort of Cruyff turn and was outdone. And it sent them into a pretty decent looking attack until Iorfa thumping, amazing tackle. I mean, in our box, he's on a yellow. That is,
he needs to get it right.
That is some cajones to do that and to pull it off is fantastic. I don't know. I mean, was there a huge amount of notes?
Yeah. So I wanted to say, like, before the goal. So I don't know exactly what point it says. 54 minutes. The next, I've got one bit here. I'm not entirely sure, but after that, do you remember Kieran Lee had a chance?
Yes. Yeah. He sort of dawdled a little bit and then passed it behind Kachunga, didn't he? Is that chance, or is it another?
No,
chance?
I thought it was one which was kind of like a rebound, and then it kind of.
Oh yes,
It kind of seemed to hang for an eternity.
He had 2, didn't he? Yeah. So we stared down the barrel of that Curse of the X moment twice. Definitely. We gave Doyle 2 gilt edge chances, and we definitely had a couple for Kieran Lee as well.
So what I want to say with that chance was I was really, really disappointed with Adeniran for a second there. So this kind of reminds me, I've just before we did the podcast, I've just been playing some more disc golf, and it reminded me a little bit of when I was watching a game, something that would happen to me when I played Ultimate Frisbee at university. I know, such a great comparison, ladies and gentlemen, isn't it? But there'll be some moments where you really have to make that pass and you have to make that interception. And if you're coming for the disc, you have to go with it from great conviction, because there's a man behind you who's doing a man on man marking, who's going to get there before you if you don't have the conviction. So when the ball is spilling out and someone's looking to run onto it, I don't want to see Adeniran just staring at it, which is what he fucking did.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we have something in common, Den. But I'd rather it's not that. I would rather it's not that.
Yeah, and I mean, you add that to he was very much at fault for the Oxford winner as well. I don't really like him around our box, to be honest. It's not his job, I don't think, or not his strong suit.
So again, we're still looking for. We don't really have a good defensive midfielder, really.
No.
Okay, fucking hell.
Although I did see some, I was slightly surprised not to see Luongo involved at all, because the happy shiny training ground video from this week had Luongo going through some pretty full on training drills.
Well, he's hoping that it's not forever before he comes back. Before he leaves Sheffield Wednesday, because we can't keep paying his wages.
Exactly.
Yeah,
he goes to Perth Glory.
I thought the 63rd minute, so he's not a full line, he's not a quarter line, he's half a line. I was fortunate. I thought we got a free kick for his dive. I thought it was a free kick for him. You're against that?
Yeah, I just think that's about the third one, and he got caught this time.
Interesting, because I think later on, was it Patterson who dived? Apparently,
Shadipo got one for diving.
And I'm like, are you just trying to even things up from early? Yeah. It had that feeling. Again,
the ref had a really fun take on the dive motion. He's got EFL on Quest recording. So Colin Murray and Clinton Morrison can make a glib little comment about that. That's all we see for the advert. Yeah, so by the way, at halftime, and if you get this, you get adverts for EFL on Quest. Okay. It's just a compilation of them just making shit jokes. This referee, bruv, he had some really good moves for the moving ball. When the ball was moving, he was moving. You know what I'm saying?
And it's funny around that moment. I think it was literally just before it happened. I literally just thought to myself, you know what? This isn't a particularly great game. If we get a goal, we could just nick this. And guess what?
Guess what? Indeed.
Guess what happened? Look, guess what happened next? Out of nowhere.
We profit from a free kick that Barry Bannon didn't take.
Yeah.
What a surprise.
And Palmer took it long. Patterson, nodded it on. Berahino kind of fumbled out a kick out wide to Hunt.
Flick. Let's give him the benefit of a flick. It was a goal after all.
Okay, let's do that. Hunt just did absolute magic just to get the ball at his feet, kind of dribble it in, drill it across, absolutely put it on the plate. Well, Gregory just needs to connect with it, and that's what he did.
Yeah.
And there we go.
Great goal.
I want to say Pinball Wizardry.
Yes. It was very pinball-esque, actually.
It was.
Or oh dear, what's it called? The machine with the
Rube Goldberg effects.
Yeah.
Rube Goldberg machine. Yeah.
It was Rube Goldberg-esque.
Well, I made that note in a previous episode when I said Rhodes Goldberg machine, right? Because
yes, we've had that. I think that's been a episode title.
So I'm just going to call this one Pinball Wizardry, Rich.
Beautiful. No, I'm for it.
Good stuff. Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
Great finish.
What a goal. Just getting it forward so quickly and just being first to every ball there. That's what it gets you.
I did it as a sort of snide remark, but honestly, the fact that Bannon was not involved made that would not have happened. Bannon would have dawdled, he would have passed it to Dunkley, and it would have ended up back with Wildsmith. The fact that Palmer took it quickly was the biggest difference in all of that.
Right.
Everything else is helpful afterwards, but we didn't let them settle. We didn't let them set up.
Which is the overarching criticism, right, of Barry Bannon.
Well, I think just in general, since Carlos, and I suppose Bannon is the main perpetrator, but why don't we sometimes try with a free kick? Sometimes put it long and put the centre backs up. Just sometimes. Changing things up makes defending more difficult. If you always do the same thing, you might get away with it the first time, but you need to be either really, really good at it, or I'm going to stop you doing it because I know what you want to do. Or
exceptionally lucky on the second occasion.
Yeah. But no, great, absolutely lovely goal all round. Great work from Jack Hunt. I'm so pleased to see him back in the fold, and I mean, it's a shame it's taken all these weeks to get back to it, but you've got 3 or 4 of the 5 parts of the defence that were so good at the start of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, Dunkley looks more comfortable here. He looked even more comfortable when Doyle
That is fair. Which I think I want to get on to my comment. Actually, I'll put a pin in this, and I want to kind of come into this. Let's just kind of mop up the rest of the checks. I had barely any kind of notes.
Yeah.
Brown did a really great tackle on the 71st minute.
Yeah.
Bolton providing a bit of pressure. Bolton making a triple change.
Yeah.
And then Shadipo comes on for Brown. I don't know. I'd rather see Brown on the pitch, but if it's legs, whatever.
Yeah.
Longest stoppage period ever.
And
that was about it. My comment about Bolton Wanderers, Rich. Bolton looked like a team who was starting Elias Kachunga.
Yes, yeah.
For positive and for negative.
Yeah.
They look exceptionally lightweight. I'm really glad that there's a home for Kieran Lee. I'm glad that he's still playing football. He's lost a yard of pace, but he was always kind of a fairly spry player. He's still looking spry. I'm glad he's fit. I'm glad he's doing what he does best.
Yeah,
it's great to see him. I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are from what you're saying. Yeah. I'm glad he didn't come back and haunt us and bite us on the bum. But it feels very much like a team where Kieran Lee can do well. And I think Bolton will be fine. I think Bolton, they may do better than us. I probably give more probability of them doing better than us. They may do worse. They'll win more games than they'll lose. But they look a lightweight team.
They've got a game they've got a game in hand over us, but we're on the same points at this point. I know it's a very early days, but interesting. I mean, I thought at times they looked like a good unit, but Kieran Lee is the standout player, undoubtedly. Well, on this performance anyway, undoubtedly. But what this felt like once we went ahead. I was rolling back the years, and it was like a good Carlos defensive, the shut the doors and windows type performance, because we just held our shape really well. We controlled all the threats, and we just waited till they got bored and played a stupid pass that went straight out of play. We were so unruffled by them, particularly after their changes. I think Bakayoko is exactly the sort of player that Che Dunkley has made a career out of owning. It's like, he's just a big guy, is he? Yeah, I've got that. I know how to do that one. These guys that run round me and run between my legs and stuff, that sort of freaks me out. But yeah, big guy. We have a little bit of a wrestle. I win. That's what happens. He couldn't have looked more comfortable when Bakayoko came on.
What a huge praise though for Shea Dunkley.
Yeah,
That like I was saying to you, like this Bolton team look powder puff. They don't look they have any physicality. There's usually a couple of bruisers who will in this league make you fucking hurt.
Yeah.
And just did not come from Bolton at all. I didn't see any of that. So, great that you're creating a cultured footballing team, but I was just like, you guys are so lightweight.
Did you not think though, Luke? I know you're saying that about the game, and I would tend to agree with you. But
thank you.
For an alternative take,
you look at Ian Everett's points.
It's very rare for me to be speechless, to be honest. We've sat quiet for a few minutes in there. I needed time to think because I don't know whether to have a go at them or praise them. I don't think we can have a go at them. To come here and dominate the game, the full game, not just the half, and play like this is exceptional. We've created chance after chance after chance and just not taken it. We have to stay positive. We weren't creating these chances. So I feel like whoever we play, I don't care if it's Sunderland or Sheffield Wednesday, home or away, Wigan, home or away, we can easily score 6. That's not arrogance. It's based on clear-cut opportunities we're creating. At the moment, we either score 4 or 5 or none, and the game looks exactly the same.
Do you think the interesting thing is, like, as of many Englishmen, we look across at our fellow countrymen who are deemed to be some of the best to ever do it, Rich. You can look at Paddy Considine, you can look at Benedict Cumberbatch, but do you think the better actor of them all is Ian Everett?
Do you want his final little spicy nugget, which is picked out by Alex Miller as well? But we've loaned them the 3 points. They still have to come to our place.
These are a separate 3 points, Ian. We've got these are ours now.
We've got these.
These are ours.
Yeah.
There'll be a separate 3 points that you can contest us for.
If you win both of them, you get 6,
At the Home Bargains Emporium, whatever the fuck it's called in Bolton.
The home Bargains Bin Dippers Anonymous.
Tell you who isn't a home bargain. Elias Kachunga. Yeah.
Hey, he's terrible.
I bet you get a good rate on half a lion. I'll just go for the full lion bar, thank you.
Oh dear. But I think it's weird. We've got a note that's well done, Joe Wildsmith today.
Yeah. Well, I
only one save to make, but he did come bravely and claim something early doors. His kicking was pretty decent all game.
It was
a pretty assured presence back there, which is really nice to see.
His long kicks looked decent. He wasn't terrible on the short stuff.
No.
I think it's real. I really like the fact that you're giving some kudos to Shea Dunkley. I think, I don't think there'll be many days like this, but let's give him a little clap. Let's give him a little round of applause on this one.
Yeah.
Stupid joke about Shea Dunkley. Do you know how Shea is as home of in the French?
Oh yeah.
I wish he would be like, this is Shea Dunkley. Like, this is my house. I wish he'd do that more often, but he doesn't, annoyingly. No, they were good. I'm glad. Yeah, the defense did well. Like, there was still work to do against Bolton. The other thing outside of that, what am I going to say? I think, should we go on to man of the match?
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Gregory.
I think that's fair.
I said at halftime to my brother, I said, this is one of, I think I kind of made it as a bit of a damning indictment, but I said, this is one of Gregory's better games. I think it's one of his top three performance for Wednesday, I think, so far.
Weirdly, I think playing that kind of like playing off the wing type idea, I think that really suits him. Because I think it lets him. We talked about how physically he's not a powerhouse sort of forward in this. He's not a power bottom, No, he's not a powerhouse forward in this league. Like that, every team has got 2 centre backs, if not more. that dwarf him and will easily win headers against him. But being able to play off the wing, it means he can go play off a fullback, which generally they're not going to be as big. They're not going to be as dominant in the air. So he gets to win some headers, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets to drift around. I think we talked about how we don't seem to have a huge amount of fluidity and movement, but I think Gregory likes keeping the defenders guessing by moving around. And once again today, we saw him like swapping positions with Jaden Brown a couple of times, swapping positions with Berahino. So, yeah, I like it. I like when he's got a bit more to his remit than just that kind of forward line, because I do think that's where his weaknesses lie. But when he's able to kind of play the field a little bit up there, it suits him, it suits us. And then if he can bring his presence to bear in the middle at the right moments, which he nearly did twice, but he certainly did at least one time with the goal. Yeah, more power to him. Lovely stuff. I loved watching Kieran Lee today. We're sort of, I mentioned we've been in a temporary new seating position, but it means we're a bit higher up. We get that kind of tactical isometric view of things. Mm-hmm. Just he never stops moving. He's always looking for pockets of space. He's always, if he's waving his arms, he's trying to get you to pay attention to him so that he makes space for his fellow players. If he's being quiet, he's probably sneaking into a position to hurt you. Lovely to see him in such fine fettle. I think it was the right decision to get rid when we had. We'd lost so much. He just wasn't available for so much of the seasons before we let him go. But it's nice to see him still able to do the thing here in League One. And I'm very, very pleased that he didn't take the best of his two chances and hurt us for it, because it meant that we could clap him around the pitch at the end and say a proper goodbye to him, which I don't think we got to do the first time round. So
no, that's a big thing. That was a good observation made by Joe Crown at halftime. It's basically just the fact that, because he was released by Wednesday in the pandemic, Wednesday fans have never had a chance to say goodbye to him. So. And
I love Kieran Lee. Absolutely loved him. Yeah. And there was undoubtedly a period of time, maybe 2 or 3 seasons, where he had a case for being the best midfield player outside of the Premier League.
Wow.
When he was good anyway, and then when he just added goals to his game, just took it up a whole other level.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was so sad that he's had such problems with injuries. But yeah, lovely to see him back. Lovely to be able to say goodbye to him and to do that having won as well. It's even tastier, because it would have been a bit bittersweet if he'd grabbed an all-important goal, which we were very much worried that was going to happen. Good stuff. Any more?
I'm just having a fun time looking through some of the patter from Big Cuddly Daz.
Okay, nice.
Oh, maybe we'll just have a little bit of we'll enjoy what it is today, right? Because this is 3 points. Let's be positive. Let's enjoy a decent goal, nice 3 points, clean sheet. I'm happy for the defenders. I'm happy for Wildsmith.
Definitely.
Under the article, praise for section of Domhausen's post-match interview with Darren Moore, praise for Gregory is a title. I'm pleased for Gregory. He worked absolutely tirelessly in this game. We only had Thursday and Friday to work on a formation. We will play different formations throughout the season. We might play a different formation next week. You'll have to wait and see.
Is that the sort of Marvel post-credit scene that sets up?
It's a bit, isn't it? the Darren Moore Cinematic Universe.
Oh dear. He missed. I mean, really, they did miss a trick in not casting him as Thanos. I love the idea of the Darren Moore Cinematic Universe.
He snapped his fingers and half of Wednesday's game plan disappeared.
Oh, superb. So we've got a little run of away games now, haven't we? We've got 2 away games in a...
Have we now? Have we? Have we got a game? Have we got a game midweek?
Not this week. We've got AFC Wimbledon next Saturday, and then Cambridge midweek next week, or week after next.
Can you tell me more mispronounced football teams?
AFC Wimbledon.
Well done.
Wimbledon, Cambridge,
and that's before at home to Lincoln.
Lincoln, yeah. The Imps.
Those Imps.
Oh, those cheeky little Imps. Yeah, so there we go. We'll report back on our trip to... That's sort of, plucky... You've got to have a soft spot for AFC Wimbledon, haven't you, really?
I guess you do, yeah.
Not enough to not want us to go and absolutely ruin them. But
tear them a new one, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope that happens. Where do Wimbledon play?
It's a good question, isn't it?
Oh, Plough Lane.
Plough Lane. Oh, taking the sights.
Also, final comment about Darren Moore's. Darren Moore's clearly got some blindness. Dion Bolton. We have beaten a very good team today. They are the best team I've seen us play this season.
I saw that in his...
Clearly must have confused him with Plymouth Argyle, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think... Well, it may be a different thing they're quoting, but the video that's on our website, he says they're the best team that we've seen come here to Hillsborough.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
Which is a different comment, isn't it? Because, yeah, Plymouth absolutely tanned our hides for us.
Oh, right and low. You really removed the tyres from our car.
If only we'd paid you that $5 you insisted on.
Oh, do we have any listeners in the greater Merseyside area who we need to apologise?
Not anymore.
Okay.
Oh dear. When you go to Chester, they're so sweet on the announcing. They go, every team that comes to go, thank you very much for coming along to, whoever it is. Charlie, thank you very much for coming along and taking part in today's fixture. And we wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season. And that's what you want to do with AFC Wimbledon, don't you? Just like beat them 5-0 and then go, best of luck for the rest of the season, boys. Oh, and on that note, Luke, I will say best of luck for the rest of the week.
So look to the rest of the week, everybody.
Cheerio.
See you.